Hi friends, today's topic is bias and blinding in clinical research. PGs will have a full question on this and undergrad students may have a question on blinding. So let's start. What is the bias? We have actually come across terms about like favoritism or partiality. So this is same, but it is of more severe value because this bias is applied to clinical research. So it is any systematic error in the determination of the association between the exposure and disease. So that means if we are conducting a study and there is an error that will compromise the value of the study. So if we talk about the importance of bias, if there is a bias in a study, the results will not be reliable. So that means the association which we are finding between exposure and disease will not be reliable enough. Either there will be a spurious association, means a faulty association where there exists none, or it may mask the real association. So that means there may be overestimation or underestimation of the result. Let's understand that there are two types of validity applied to a clinical study. External validity is mainly related that whether the results of the study can be applied into general population or not. That is related to sample size that we have already discussed in the previous videos. But if there is a bias, this will severely affect the internal validity of the study. That means the value of the study, that how much evidence it will generate and how much the results are trustable. So there can be a systematic difference between the results from a study and the true states of affair. Like we all know 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, but here we are getting 3. So there the results will not be reliable. Let's start with the types of bias. Types of bias, the first is and very important bias is selection bias. We have already discussed it in the previous videos. When the patients included in the study are not true representatives of the population, that means sample has not been selected randomly. There has been a bias or there has been a favoritism unknowingly or knowingly in the selection of sample. This occurs due to inappropriate selection of cases and control groups. Let's understand it by the example of if we are doing split mouth trials. Split mouth trials we mean that in the same patient we want to evaluate the difference between two treatment modalities. For example, we have similar type of defects in right side maxillary teeth and left side maxillary teeth. In right side we are using graft A and in left side we are using graft B. So this will eliminate all the errors related to host response because person is same. But if in all cases we will do graft A in right case side and graft B in left side, there will be a favoritism because most of the peoples are right-handed people. So they will have more oral hygiene on the left side and right side will be compromised. So there will be a bias. So we have to select randomly that today in this patient graft A will be placed on right side and graft B will be placed on left side. In the next patient, again with the help of coin toss or lottery method, we will decide that which graft has to be put on which side. So that means selection bias can be eliminated by randomization. Second is recall bias. We have already discussed in the previous videos that in case control studies, we have to rely on patient's information. So that means if there are differences in the accuracy or completeness of recall to memory of past events or experiences, then there will be a recall bias. Patient may not be able to recall the full happening of the events, or patient may skip some events which he may deemed unnecessary or unimportant. So we have to rely on the patient's experience. That is why we get this recall bias in case control studies. Third is observers and interviewers bias. For example, if we are conducting the study, like in the previous example, we are evaluating the effect of various bone grafts on right and left side. But if observer will be knowing that on right side this graft has been put and on left side this graft has been put, he may get biased. So he may feel like in the literature the graft A is superior. So he may, while recording observation, he may feel biased and he may not properly record the observations. And sometimes if operator is the observer, the person who is operating knows that on which side he has operated for which bone graft. So observer will have a favoritism, or that I have already talked, knowingly or unknowingly. So it occurs when interviewer measuring the outcome of the disease consciously or unconsciously, knowing or unknowingly, and consciously or unconsciously elicits inaccurate information from study objects. Observer may get influenced and may have his or her own preferences. Subject bias. Subject bias means if I select the patient for the study and I tell that patient you are a part of test group, I will give you new drug, and the other person I will tell that you are a part of placebo group. So what will happen? Automatically the subject will start feeling improvement, that I have been given a new drug. He may feel better or he may feel deteriorated. So that means the subject will create a bias in the information. So if they know that they are a part of treatment or test group or vice versa, they will create bias in the study. So this subject bias or interviewer bias can be eliminated by blinding. This we will be discussing in the forthcoming slides. Third is evaluator bias. We will also discuss while discussing blinding. Evaluator bias means now you have collected the data and you have given it for evaluation, either statistical evaluation. So even this is a bias on the part of the evaluator, who may subconsciously give a favorable report of the outcome of the trial, because it is very difficult to publish negative results. Or negative results, though they carry more value in the science, but mostly people want to have positive results of the study. So they feel that if there are not the positive results, they have not found a treatment better than the previous treatment, their research will not get the value. So they create a bias there. They subconsciously give a favorable report. So this bias is very important. So this will be discussed, that how we can eliminate this bias in the later slide. There is a Hawthorne effect. Some people confuse it with subject bias. Hawthorne effect means the difference in the test and control group might be attributed to increased efficiency of the subjects under study as a result of behavioral change rather than the actual superiority of the therapy in question. What happens if I am enrolled in a study? Then being a dental student, I know that the other person will be evaluating my plaque levels. So if there are, like when I was a student, I was enrolled in a study. So consciously, I knew that the person will be evaluating the plaque levels in my oral cavity. So I used to brush properly and I used to give proper time. So my behavior changed because I thought that I am a part of the study, and this behavioral change might have led to the superiority of the results. But actually they were evaluating the effect of 2 toothbrushes. So how will we say that whether it was because of the behavior change or whether it was because of the superiority of one therapy over the other? So that is a Hawthorne effect. There is a Burkesonian bias. Burkesonian bias means there are different rates of admission to different hospitals. For example, if we want to evaluate number of deaths in a hospital during last 6 months, and if we go to the emergency ward, then obviously the rate of the death will be more. Or if we want to know the prevalence of cancer and we go to cancer hospital, so what will happen? There will be a Burkesonian bias, because for a district hospital will refer all the cases of the cancer to cancer hospital. So what will happen? We will feel that the cancer prevalence is very high in this area. But it is not like that. It is only that because it is a specialized hospital, it will cater the specialty cases. So Burkesonian bias is related to different rates of admission. So this we have to take care while planning the study. Confounding bias is very difficult to understand, because a confounding factor is the one which is associated with both exposure and disease. Let's understand. See, if we want to have the relationship between periodontal disease and cardiovascular disease, and if we select smokers in our patients, in our subjects, so what will happen? We know that smokers have very severe periodontal disease. We know that smokers are at risk for cardiovascular disease. So whether the association between periodontal disease and cardiovascular disease is because of the smoking, or there is a true interrelationship between these two diseases, will be masked by the confounding effect of smoking. So we have to eliminate smokers from our study groups, or we have to have equal number of smokers in both the test as well as control group to eliminate confounding bias. Attrition bias we have already discussed in previous videos also, that if we plan a study, there is loss of follow-up, like subjects drop out from the study. Either there might be some deaths or some migrations or loss of interest, or there occur some comorbidities and patients jump from the inclusion criteria to exclusion. So we have to exclude those patients. So we have to, that is why we have to select the sample size keeping in mind the loss of follow-up cases. Then post hoc bias. This is very important bias. We have to understand it with the example of, like, I have collected some data. I want to know the association between periodontal disease and cardiovascular disease. But because my hypothesis is whether periodontal disease is a risk factor for cardiovascular disease. But what happens is, when data comes, I start comparing males and females, or I start comparing low socioeconomic status group with the high socioeconomic group. See, it was not my hypothesis, and I have not planned my study according to this hypothesis. So the sample size will also change, and this is known as data dredging, and this will create the spurious associations. So we have to eliminate this post hoc bias. That means if we are studying a proper hypothesis, our aims and objectives should be very clear. Just seeing the data, we should not try to get the results. So that means there should not be any confusion. Let me compare male and female also, because your study was not intended to compare male and female prevalence of the disease. Now let's discuss blinding. I have already told you that it is a technique adopted to eliminate the different types of biases that may occur during a study. It is of three types: single blinding, double, and triple blinding. Coming to single blinding. Single blinding means when participant is not aware that whether he belongs to test group or control group. This will eliminate subject bias. And if we give the drug in a neutral casing, patient will not be knowing that whether it is a test drug or it is a placebo drug. So that will eliminate the bias on the behalf of subject. Double blinding. Double blinding is when participant as well as observer or interviewer both are not aware of the group allocation and the treatment received. That means they don't know that whether the person belongs to the test group or control group and what treatment has been being rendered. So they just collect the observation. So this eliminates subject as well as observer's bias, which there may be conscious or subconsciously which may enter into the study. So this will eliminate both biases. Triple blinding, when participants, observers or interviewers, as well as evaluators or statisticians, all are not aware of the group allocation and treatment received. To the evaluator, we will only send the data, this is group A, group B. We won't tell that what is the test group, which is the control group, or we won't tell which is the ideal group, which is the positive control group, or which is the gold standard drug. We won't tell any information. So even statistician will not be able to know. So he or she will also be blinded. So this is a triple blinding. This will eliminate observer, subject as well as evaluation bias. Thank you.